Don Mazzella here for Small Business Digest. Yeah, AI is confusing a lot of people, improving the operations of a lot of people. And with us today to talk about it is Tony Donofrio. You know, I've heard a lot about him. I'm glad he's here. Tony, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, Donald. It's a great pleasure to be with you.
Okay, Tony, as we ask all our guests, first tell us a little bit about yourself personally, then about your company, and finally a website.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Tony D'Onofrio. As you heard, I actually have a dual life, but I think I was born in a retail store because my entire career has been spent in the retail space. I actually worked for a retailer for 9 years, and then I split the rest of my career between security and information technology. Today, actually, again, I have a split personality. I run a social media company that's focused on the future of retail, where retail is going and what new technologies are coming in and how they're succeeding. And I run that under a brand called TD Insights. And I actually started that, and I've been working with Silicon Valley companies extensively starting in 2018 in terms of looking at technology and technology direction. In 2021, I joined a company called Prosegur as CEO of the global retail business. And what I'm working on is actually reinventing where security goes next. And so the buzzwords that you called out, AI is one of them. And really what I see is technology really being accelerated by the pandemic. And we're really at a different time right now. So Prosegur is spelled Prosegur, and then ed.com at the end, and that is the company where I'm the CEO. So we're at an interesting time. This journey that I've created with the TD Insight has led me to all kinds of recognition. I'm actually recognized as a top 100 global retail influencer. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure out where we're all going with all this stuff that the pandemic accelerated.
Okay. Well, I can ask you a million questions, but I guess the one that really affects my audience, the one that we see many times in smaller businesses, how do you take AI and how do you take all of these things that are happening and make it work within your company? How do you make sure that your shelves are stocked? You somehow or other kept tabs of your inventory, and you know what's coming in and what's going out.
So AI is a buzzword. It stands for artificial intelligence, of course. It's been around for a while. I think this year in 2022, it's probably going to get replaced by a new one called the metaverse. So everybody's hearing about this metaverse. Well, let's go back to AI, because I do think AI in a lot of ways has been with us for a while, getting into basic technologies that we use everywhere, including in small business, in terms of making operations much more efficient. So it's really a different way of taking a lot of data, analyzing it deeply, and then out of that data, figuring out what trends can improve the operations of every business, including small business. So all new applications that are coming out today really have typically an AI component. So they'll advertise them. My favorite one that I've talked to a lot about is cameras. So cameras, for example, in 2021, the world installed, we crossed over 1 billion cameras installed. Those cameras used to be just looking at a scene and figuring out what you were stealing or keeping an eye on the location when the location was closed. Now they've become data gathering devices, and they're capturing all kinds of data, and we actually seen a lot of that. So we're seeing that, for example, in the retail space, a lot of AI-based, what we call computer vision, looking at a scene and actually creating intelligent decisions. Like, for example, there's one application, if you go into Walmart or Kroger, some of these larger chains, they actually have artificial intelligence in their self-checkout to actually making sure that you're scanning all those products and you actually are going to end up paying for them. Those solutions are coming down the funnel to every type of business, including small business. So it's important that all businesses look at applications where they're investing any technology. How much of an AI component does it have? Doesn't even have an AI component, because all that means is going to help you create a smarter way to look at your data and then make decisions faster, which the pandemic really accelerated. McKinsey, for example, said that the pandemic accelerated digital transformation, or this whole idea of computers and analysis and so on, by 5 to 10 years. And to understand that, all you got to do is pick up your smartphone and see how much more that smartphone can do today what it did in the past. I mean, I just got this one for Christmas. I don't even press any button. I just stare at it, and facial recognition opens it up. So the world is moving on.
I always say there's more computing power inside our smartphones than took a man to the moon. If you remember that.
No, no,
But
that's actually very true. In fact, in that story, it was actually in a digital watch. It was much technology in a digital watch and actually going to the moon, which gives you an idea. They're now really supercomputers where we're at right now.
well, that being the case, um, Tony, I'm a small 2 or 3 store clothing boutique clothing store. Now I have stuff coming in from Thailand. I have it coming in from China. I have it coming in. How do and I know AI is the only of it's a kind of a code word, but are there ways now where I can make sure that I know where everything is and when it's going to arrive, and um, where does your company fit in?
Well, our company is deploying already artificial intelligence solutions to protect facilities and protect stores. We actually have all kinds of different technologies, starting from guarding all the way up to actually providing guards in stores, also providing all kinds of advanced technology. So, for example, we even deploy parking lot solutions to protect parking lots with solutions that have artificial intelligence in them.
Hmm. Well, to go a step further, I know well you can't go into the dressing rooms, but do you have ways of helping people? I was at the retail federation show, and they said that uh, so anywhere between 13 to 15% of losses in retail stores are in dressing room and around there. Do you have any solutions for that? For
Yes, we do actually. We're in the middle of deploying some dressing room solution that use all kinds of new technology, such as Bluetooth. We also track who goes in and out. You know, we don't take pictures on any of that. So all those technology are anonymous and actually don't have visibility. But at NRF, actually, it was actually great to see that even LIDAR, which is a really laser radar, is coming into store to track individuals and people anonymously, including going into dressing rooms. So there's all kinds of technologies coming into this space, and we're in the middle of all those. So what we try to do is actually spend time with business and business groups to understand needs and directions in terms of where they're trying to take the business, and then customize solutions to that.
hmm. What about where does this go in relation to RFID? Do you
But
remember that term?
yeah. No, that's a good term. Actually, RFID stands for radio frequency identification. It's actually not a new technology. It was invented during World War II to actually track airplanes and airplane parts. And it's come a long way since then. In fact, we've been talking about the arrival of RFID for a long time, but in retail, it's actually taken off. In the adoption rates, for example, in North America, is roughly at about 90%, especially in the apparel space in tracking clothes. RFID works best in friendly items that don't have liquids and metals. So it's being used a lot to track inventory. especially in apparel stores, and it's doing really, really well. There's some really advanced deployment. Even Walmart has announced that they're deploying RFID in their stores for apparel and also for some of their electronics and even for tires.
Well, what does it do? Does it put a label on everything so that it could be read? I mean, can you explain that to our
Yeah, so
audience?
basically you put a label. That's exactly it. You put a radio frequency identification label. That label actually carries a serial number that identifies that specific product. And then either via portals or a handheld, you take inventory to see exactly where those products are. What's that allowed to do is retailers to actually be able to know exactly what they have in the stores and turn their stores into what's called micro fulfillment centers. So in the old days, everything shipped for the warehouse if you bought it online. If you have accurate inventory in the store, you don't have to ship it from the warehouse. You can actually ship it from the nearest store, which saves on shipping costs. And so you see retailers turning their physical stores into micro fulfillment center to cut down all those shipping costs. And if you really want to understand that, you look at Amazon. Amazon, for example, is opening all kinds of stores because they figured it out that shipping it from a distant warehouse is very expensive. So it's important to have these micro fulfillment centers close by, which indeed is turning out to be a store.
Hmm. Well, I guess the pandemic has really changed things. But how does all this fit into just-in-time production, etc.? Um, I read that uh, just-in-time is losing favor because of uh, the roadblocks the pandemic has put in there. Where does this fit into all of what you're saying? I seldom come across such an expert as you, so I'm going to ask you all the
No, no.
questions.
So okay, that's okay. So the pandemic really has exposed some problems. One is supply chain. So supply chains, as you saw, even during Christmas, we were all worried about not getting our Christmas gifts because we had all these ships offshore that couldn't unload and things were slowed down in the supply chain. So it's leading to a reanalysis how we actually build supply chain and where goods come from. So just this morning, for example, Intel announced that they're going to spend 20 billion in Ohio to build a computer chip factory because they need to bring the production closer to where the products are consumed and not really put their whole supply chain at risk. So just in time is important because you reduce the cost of carrying all this inventory to produce goods. But to do that, you really got to relook at your entire supply chain. If you're a small business, what that means is you got to have more than one supplier and you got to be able to react, and you better not have all your supplier in a distant region where it's got to come by boat, because potentially then you're going to run into exactly what we ran into the holiday season. So the pandemic really, the pandemic was a wake-up call in terms of how we look at everything, how we look at technology, how we look at supply chain, and how we get a lot more efficient in terms of managing our operation.
Well, do you think that this will also encourage people to bring manufacturing onshore again?
I think so. And as I said, the example that I just gave you today, just this morning,
Intel.
$20 billion, 3,000 jobs to start, 7,000 construction jobs going to Ohio, where Intel has decided we need the control. So I think that will happen. I think what will happen is we're going to balance. The way things tend to work is we go into spectrums in terms of where things happen, and we're not going to rebalance back to an equilibrium. We're not relying just on China as our production machine. We're going to distribute manufacturing in different parts of the world.
Well, okay, then let's get back to your company. Where does your company fit into this redistribution?
So our company is focused on security and really protecting stores and assets and facilities, including buildings and all that. So that's our primary focus in terms of where we're spending technology and all that. So we provide all kinds of technology, but we're also evolving. So for example, we've deployed now a brand new platform where we actually have advertising built inside the EAS pedestal, and we'll actually let the advertising pay for the technology, and we
Mm.
run the advertising inside of a cloud platform. So that actually really sweats the asset, the security asset that you bring into the store, and you let in the asset paying for the technology. We call that Evo, and it's really having a really successful launch right now.
Well, can you explain what does your platform do? Could you explain that? That sounds exciting. So, what
What
is your
that does,
plat?
yeah, so what that technology does, it's electronic article surveillance. So it's EAS. So it's the old EAS technology of putting tags on products to make sure they don't get stolen. But instead of just being an EAS system now, it's actually a marketing device. So it can actually play ads that sell with the products that are in your store. It can bring up specials. It can bring up hours. It can bring up COVID safety messages, all kinds of things that are marketing. If you think about it, the entrance and the exits of many of these locations is underperforming in terms of providing messages that help the retailer or that company really deliver a live and interactive message. The world we live in now is getting more and more visual. And again, the smartphone is a good example. So these platforms need to evolve. What we're able to do with this cloud-based Evo system is actually deliver customized advertising to the location that actually encourages people to buy more when they walk in. So, and at the same time, that same platform can count the number of people coming in, can tell you whether they were a male or a female, to artificial intelligence can give you all these metrics on performance of the location. So it's really moving security forward.
Mm. Well, let me back up and see if I understand it. So, but are these audio messages? Are they in signs?
No,
Uh,
it's a big video screen built inside an EAS pedestal. So you've been to
oh,
stores and you've seen the EAS pedestal.
yeah.
Now we're going to put a really big screen in there and play all these visual messages.
So as I walk in, I can see a message that we're having a sale today on blouses, for instance.
Correct, correct,
Oh,
correct.
that's
All those kind of,
exciting.
yes, it is. We're getting a lot of good traction. Actually, the first place it was installed, believe it or not, was in liquor stores in Canada. It's installed in 130 liquor stores in Western Canada right now. That's where it started. And we're now piloting it both in the US and in Canada and other bigger stores. But it's a perfect solution to deliver really marketing information and then have the marketing pay for the technology.
Mm. So in effect, um, for instance, you have a label on all the clothes, and if someone's trying to walk out of the store without paying, it somehow beeps it.
Correct. And now
Ah,
it also does a security element at the same time. It
ah,
does both at the same time. It does both the security element and provide the advertising at the same time.
wow. Now, is there any place in the New York and area that you're testing it?
Now, not in New York yet. It's coming to New York. We're working with some big retailers right now just on that topic, but it's
Mm.
coming to a store near you soon.
Well, will this? Well, since this is a small business program, can a small business get this system, and how much does it cost?
Well, we were still working. One of the reasons we're doing the pilots is to finalize what the pricing model is going to be, because there are some companies that they want to own the advertising and run their own advertising, and some companies want us to run it. So one of the reasons we're doing all these pilots is to finalize what that pricing model is going to look like. So it actually is not final yet in terms of what that looks like. But it could be applied to all kinds of businesses. Really, the key is to start the conversation. Talk to one of our people and see what's possible. Talk to us in terms of understanding better where the issues are, and then built on that going forward.
Well, your website again and how people can
Yeah, the website is prosegur.com, Prosegur.com. And they can also look me up on LinkedIn. I'm extremely active, being a top 100 influence. So look up Tony D'Onofrio on LinkedIn, and you'll see me there, and you can connect with me there.
Where are you located? You yourself physically?
I am in Greenville, South Carolina. So,
Oh,
but I'm originally Italian. I was born in Italy. So,
no kidding. I wouldn't have known.
With all those vowels, come on.
Well, that's a heck of a nice place to be.
Yes,
South
it is.
Carolina, especially this time of year.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Tony, we still have a little bit of time. Um, let's look to the future. What do you think the future is going to be like for security? Oh, I know. I have an even better question. With all of this that you're doing, how does this affect our privacy? It seems to me that I can't go anyplace without somebody photographing me. Is that going to expand? And what does it mean for personal freedom?
So that's a good question. Privacy is a concern that we all need to keep in mind and address. I don't think, for example, the US government has done enough in terms of passing laws that balance, for example, how facial recognition is being used. It is being used in selected places, including by some stores and even police departments, but really we need better boundaries in terms of how privacy. I think ultimately where we're going to end up is in an opt-in process. If you want more services and more engagement, then you may need to give up more of your privacy going forward. So really that's where the world needs to go, with some legal boundaries in terms of how the data can actually use. But the technology, unfortunately, is coming. Younger generations are addicted to these things, to these smartphones and devices. So that's here to stay. So I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon.
Well, let me ask you this other question. For instance, with all the facial recognition, as you could build up a database of people you know are like the casinos do, you know are crooks. So that when one enters the store, an alarm goes off. It seems to me that it's just a single step away from doing that.
It is coming, and there are some people actually testing that kind of thing, but I do think we got to address the privacy issue. And that's not just me. Microsoft has actually been very vocal to tell the government, please come up with better rules to define how we actually use these technologies. So I do think we got to come up with boundaries, but ultimately the goal is how do we keep all of us safe and really go after the bad guys and not really impact the good guys in terms of some of these privacy issues. So we got to get that balance. And so we do need better privacy laws as part of this process.
Couldn't agree with you more. Tony, we have just a couple of minutes left. What would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, I like to leave about two things. One, on the pandemic, we're going to get through this. The key is to really take the necessary precautions and stay safe. I mean, I've decided that there's so much good things going on in the world. We need to stay aggressive and really evolve. I can tell you the pandemic for me has been transformational in terms of I took a new CEO role. I continue to expand my personal brand through the social media activities. So that's important. And two, don't be afraid of technologies. Engage companies such as Prosegur to help you figure out the best direction and what solutions actually work in your space going forward. There are experts out there that can help you. We all started as small businesses and we all want to grow. And the key is to leverage the ecosystem of people around you to figure out how to do that. And a lot of us are not afraid to jump in and help. And I'm one of them. I enjoy talking to people and figuring out where we take all this stuff next.
Well, on that note, Tony, your website one last time, please.
Prosegur.com, Prosegur.com.
And on that note, we say thank you, Tony. for a really fast moving time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.